Okay, so this chapter we're going to discuss role transitions and what they are. So let's take a look at some of these slides. And these slides also do follow your book. So we're going to discuss the concept of transitions, characteristics of reality shock. We're going to compare and contrast reality shock and what it is. And we're going to describe some methods to promote successful transition from school to the nursing profession. So what are transitions? Transitions are passages or changes from one situation or condition or state to another that occur over time. They can be classified in certain major types: developmental, parent, midlife crisis, situational, such as graduating from school, career changes, health and illness, dealing with chronic illness, as well as organizational changes in terms of leadership or new staffing patterns. Those are all types of transitions and changes, and we've all heard of every single one of those topics, so they are very relevant to our living. So what are important factors influencing transitions? Understanding from the perspective of the person experiencing the transition, whether it's a positive transition, whether it's a negative, or whether it's a neutral. So what kind of transition it is for them, and basing how you deal with those situations from those aspects. What transition is desired, what expectations are realistic. When you know what to expect, you can reduce the level of stress. So how to approach those things is very important, to know how the person feels about the change. So which word best describes your experience working with other nurses during your clinical experience in nursing school? Now, some of this is based on nursing schools, and all of you are already RNs, but you may be new graduate RNs, so this would maybe pertain to you. So in nursing school, was it rewarding? Was it uneasy, intimidating, boring, informative? I think a lot of those, just depending on the day of nursing school, but most of all, it's very, very, very busy, and I don't see that. So I guess boring is not an option. Okay, so, and the real thing, okay, whenever you start nursing, reality shock is a very, very real situation. So, what is reality shock? Reaction experience when entering workforce after years of preparation. So, reality shock is a term often used to describe the reaction experience when one moves into the workforce after several years of educational preparation. The recent grad is caught off guard and moved from a familiar situation into a new role in the workforce, where your expectations are not clearly lined out for you. Can be very stressful for you. So, example, if a student were taught to consider the patient in a holistic framework, but in practice, you don't often have the time to consider psychosocial or teaching needs of every patient, as well as everything that needs to be documented. So that's very much a reality. Time management skills, along with increasing acuity of patients that we have, is a common problem to the new grad. And I wouldn't say just the new grad, I would say with the entire nursing population, the acuity of patients is increasingly higher for every patient, just because the life expectancy of patients is so much longer with new medicine. So these situations can leave you feeling powerless, depressed, insecure, in your work environment. There are positive ways to deal with reality shock, and everyone does feel like this, so you're not the only person. But reality shock is not unique to just nursing. It's in many professions across the world. So what are the phases of reality shock? The honeymoon phase, no one's watching over your shoulder. You're excited to step out onto your own. You see the world kind of a fascinating place, and the thrill of arriving in your profession is a really good feeling. And then you're in a shock and rejection phase. This is when the bad days outnumber the good ones, whenever you leave your shift possibly crying or wondering why you chose to do nursing, this phase is also a very realistic phase. I found going from one profession, from med-surg to a specialty profession, was very overwhelming. Just learning the detailed aspects of one specific system was challenging initially. So shock and rejection, you have a lot of increased concern over minor issues and illnesses, and your experience is decreasing your energy level, and you feel tired, and you feel like you're not getting anything right, and you get blamed for a lot of mistakes, and you remember those mistakes. And so it's important for you to kind of band together and develop relationships with people who hold the same values as you. And you also tend to be a little hypercritical of everything. And so that's a reality as well. So the recovery phase. The recovery phase begins when you kind of start to have a sense of humor. You have a decrease in tension. You have an ability to be objective and meet your objectives for the day, working towards effecting a better solution through conflict resolution. So a facility hires you after nursing school to work as a staff nurse. What phase of reality shock would you be in? So I would think that we would say honeymoon phase. It's a brand new facility, it's a new place, a new environment, potentially a new job, a new start to your career, or just a change that you need. So I would say that this is more of a honeymoon phase type period. So role transformation. When does the role transformation to a graduate nurse begin? So moving into the novice role when you took your first nursing course. Advanced beginner at graduation. So let's talk about your transition. Okay. A successfully managed transition begins when the graduate nurse is able to evaluate the work situation objectively and predict the actions and reactions of the staff effectively. Prioritization, conflict management, time management, and support groups can make a significant difference in promoting successfully managed transition period. Okay. So role transformation. Whenever you first started nursing school, everyone tells you war stories, and you don't believe what they're saying. The changes that occurred in your family as a result of you starting nursing school can be a significant issue. So the role of a nurse graduate. So in the beginning, you really don't have any experience with situations and what you're expected to perform. So these situations, you get in these situations, and you're allowed to gain an experience and necessary skill development. And this places you more in a novice role. So there's different stages in table 1.2 in your chart in your book. It's talking about different stages and phases of how you change. So novice is a nursing student, a new setting, no clinical experience. You need rules and guidance. So then you gradually move to the advanced beginner. It's kind of the last semester of nursing school, or you're working as a graduate nurse. You demonstrate ability to learn to deliver marginal acceptance care. You begin to understand the principles that dictate nursing interventions, and you continue to concentrate on the rules, taking minimal information about certain situations, just kind of learning the rules and the steps, the legal aspects of nursing school as well. And so then there's competent phase. It's 2 to 3 years clinical experience. So you begin, you're very conscientious, you have great planning skills, you see nursing actions in light of patients, you demonstrate ability to cope with and manage different situations. And then there's proficient. So there's like nurse clinicians, nursing faculty. You're able to recognize and understand the situation as a whole. Your holistic understanding enhances your decision making, so you're able to use maybe both a little bit more effectively instead of just focusing on one thing, which is kind of what you do whenever you actually hit the nursing floor. In school, you do work about more in the holistic versus reality whenever you hit the floor and you work about what you physically see. And then there's the expert level. It's advanced practice nurses and faculty. They're able to demonstrate, understand situations, and focus on specific areas of the problem. They operate in in-depth understanding situations, and they're highly skilled analytically in problem solving. So how do you prepare for your transition? So there's beginning to get more independent, so you're no mama management. You take on realistic care assignments. So instead of taking one patient towards the end of your graduate nursing or your orientation phase, you probably should realistically be able to take 3 patients, because whenever you do hit the floor based on your staffing, more than likely you're going to have 4 to 5 patients that you're a primary nurse for. So taking realistic patients is a very, very important thing. And although it is scary, I think it's important that you push for that for yourself so you know how to prepare for that transitional role. So I think that clinical hours need to represent more of a realistic shift, because the reality is we don't shift from 6:30 till 2, we shift from 6:30 to 7:30. So I think that especially seniors or older class members who are ready to graduate need to focus more on learning how to do that, because that can take its toll on you after 13 hours of trying to learn, be a good nurse, be efficient. It can be very overwhelming. So performing procedures, of course, in nursing school, it's very hard to do. Instead of just observing, we just really push more for actually performing procedures. And then the truth about real work settings can be scary, but most of the time, whenever you don't have lunch days or you're so busy you can't sit down, those are reality, and so those need to be taken into consideration. Requesting feedback is important so you can fix the problem. And then also requesting a clinical experience in your area of interest is important to see if you do want to follow that path, instead of getting to your job and realizing that you just maybe do not like that area, and then you're kind of stuck there. So use your clinical experience as maybe a trial of what you like. How do you prepare for a transition? So I think it's really good to think positive, be flexible, get organized, find a mentor, someone you trust to ask questions, find new grads, people who are new in this area, kind of know what to expect, and try to have some fun. Okay, so how do you measure up? Nursing can be excited. Are you excited? Are you sincere, open-minded, comfortable with your basic skills, have a good sense of humor, constructive criticism, and be able to express your thoughts and feelings so you can ask questions and not just harbor a lot of feelings or negativity towards anybody? Be able to measure and evaluate for your performance and request assistance. It's really important to be a team player. Future of the role transition. So transition to your actual practice, there's some new models based from the NCSBN, which is the let me see what that acronym is for. I'll go back to that in just 1 second. So the NCSBN created modules for teamwork, patient-centered care, evidence-based practice, quality improvement, informatics, to basically help with a longer transition from one area to another, and is trying to put placement on that for every single grad or new position change to allow a more detailed and longer process for education and into that, instead of just dropping you into that role, it's kind of just doing it a little more slowly, a little more sensitively. And so the National Council of State Board of Nursing is the NCSBN. So the role is in August of 2008, the meeting, they just had wanted to place more emphasis on there was adequate evidence to support regulatory model for transition for new graduates to help with that ease and that transition. Okay, so here's some fun little rules of the road as you're transitioning. So green light, yellow light, red light, stop and take care of yourself. Detour, you're going to make mistakes. Curve ahead, get your life in order. Yield, you don't always have to be right. Resume speed, maintain a positive attitude. Slower traffic, keep right. Take all the time you need in a career decision. Okay, school zone is plan to continue your education, because every hospital that I've known always needs, and the nursing board requires continued education as well. Okay, Slow speed zone, take the time to get organized. I always wanted to get to my clinical experience very early to get organized because it was very important to me. I did not like to hit the floor without having to get my patient ready, my systems down, because it was very stressful for the entire day. So caution, if in doubt, check with another nurse. Your nurses are your advocates. So roadside, park ahead, take a break. So as you progress through your personal transitions into nursing practice, the rules of the road are really kind of helpful little fun tools to look at. And that will be it for chapter 1. And I will see you for chapter 2.